Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for today's class. Today, we are going to look into the International Medical Device Regulators Forum, an international coalition of medicines regulatory authorities. This is part of the global regulatory harmonization efforts. So we are going to, of course, repeat the fact that we have been already working on the harmonization for the regulatory activities. And this is because all of the countries, they need to work together. They need to follow the same standards so that they will be able to do the importation, exportation, exchanging scientific information, manufacturing information as well. So we needed to have a harmonization. So for the harmonization, we can talk about the International Council of Harmonization, which is for the drugs, for the food, and for biotechnology products. We can also look into other international harmonization efforts like ISO standards. So these are the standards that we are, again, that we did write and we did share with everyone, with the globe. And companies, they always go and look into those standards so that when they are going to have any exchange for any product or services, we will all have the same standard. And again, it's much easier to do the quality measurements or quality management as well. So what are the types of harmonization? We can talk about the regulatory requirements. So all of the policies, all of the guidance documents, all of the regulations that are written, they are all different regulatory requirements, and they are all, of course, based on each country. However, those countries, and again, I give you an example, they will use, for example, the International Council of Harmonization, or ICH website. Those countries, they may embed the standards, the ICH standards, into their laws or into their regulations, such as in the US FDA, or they can refer only to those guidelines, but to mention the fact that those guidelines, while we are referring to them, they are again accepted as the law. This is, of course, the case of Health Canada, where when we look into the food and drugs regulation, we refer to ICH guidelines such as good clinical practice, ICH E6, or GMP, which is good manufacturing practice, or ICH Q7. And of course, we have about 57 different, again, standards in the ICH.org website. We also have another type of harmonization, which is the mutual recognition of approvals. It means that if, for example, a test is approved in Canada, the same test will also be approved in Tanzania or in Albania or in Australia, and vice versa, of course. We also have another type of harmonization that we call joint reviews. This is where you do have different organizations in two different countries, for example, but these organizations, they are working together and they are following the similar standards. Of course, if we drill down, we see that they are identical. However, the way that the wording has been done is maybe slightly different. However, again, based on the joint review, two countries, for example, they can now reach a conclusion that the service or the products that they are importing or exporting, they are having the same, I would say, quality standards. Now, here today, we're going to look into two types of harmonization. These are related to the regulatory requirements, standards, and of course, guidelines. Now, we are going to look into the International Medical Device Regulators Forum, which is again related to the medical devices industry. And then we are going to look into the International Coalition of Medicines Regulatory Authorities. Now, starting with International Medical Device Regulators Forum, this is a group of medical device regulators from different countries that have voluntarily come together to harmonize the regulatory requirements for medical products that vary from country to country. So this organization was established in October 2011 when representatives from the medical device regulatory authorities of Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, EMA, Japan, and the United States, as well as the World Health Organization, met in Ottawa to address the establishment and operations of the new forum. So it's very similar to the International Council of Harmonization, where we also had the same approach in order to, again, look into regulate, I would say, different products around the world. Now, this organization, so International Medical Device Regulators Forum, develops internationally agreed upon documents related to a wide variety of topics affecting medical devices. Now, it can be from standards, can go through the usage, writing the, user manual, for example, having different tests for the efficacy or safety, and even, of course, for the quality of those medical devices. So draft documents of its organization are available for public review and comment for usually between 2 to 3 months. Again, very similar to different guidance documents that Health Canada or FDA, they also, they want to publish, they also put them or they share the drafted documents with the public in order to review comments. Now, the members of the International Medical Device Regulatory Forums are the following: Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, European Union, Japan, Russia, Singapore, South Korea, United Kingdom, and the USA. So what they do exactly, again, is that all of these countries, they are having this forum where, as I already mentioned, the first time it was in Ottawa, and they're looking into, again, different topics affecting the medical devices. Now, this organization has also some observers. Observers are people who cannot vote, but they are observing. So for the observers, we can talk about the World Health Organization representatives and Argentina that are official observers. Now, the Asian Harmonization Working Party, Pan American Health Organization, and APEC LCIF Regulatory Harmonization Steering Committees are also, the initiators of this regional harmonization. Now, what the working groups, they do in the International Medical Device Regulators Forum, because we're going to have experts in the medical device industry, they're going to sit together, they're going to have, again, several interactions, but they're also going to have working groups because they have to deliver. Okay, they just don't just sit together, of course. And here I'm going to talk to you about a few of the tasks that they do. For example, they have the working group called Adverse Event Terminology. Very important because we need to establish the terminology for reporting the adverse events related to the use of medical devices. So what they do is that they harmonize the terminology for reporting adverse events related to medical devices and further harmonize adverse event reporting data sets to improve signal detection. A signal detection in, again, in pharmacovigilance, or again, talking about the management of the adverse events, is when we are looking into the trends and any abnormal increase in the number of the safety reports reported or received by the users or patients using medical devices. So when we talk about signal detection, it's like an activity because we always do that as soon as we, again, even we or when we are testing a medical device, we are looking into its safety profile as well. And if there is any issue with the safety use of the product, it's not just the use, but also its quality and its efficacy. We are going to write them in a database, and we are going to keep looking into those different adverse events. Now, after again, going to the market, we'll still continue to collect all of these safety reports related to the use of the medical devices. And then we are going to look at the numbers. For example, we see that we have 10 adverse events reports in the first year, 11 in the second year, 9 in the third year. So we see that the trend is, again, is about 9 to 11 adverse events reports every year. So this is something which is stable. And of course, we will have to find out a way to prevent those adverse events. However, if we have, for example, over 10 years, just 10 I would say adverse event reports every year, and suddenly in the last year we have 100, for example, this is a signal. It means that we are now outside of the normal trend of the adverse events, again, experienced by our patients. And this means that we need now to look into what is going on with that device. So we have to look into the, again, the root cause, through the root cause analysis, because maybe this is just a batch of the medical devices that is maybe defective. Maybe the transportation was defective. Maybe they were damaged. Maybe the patients were not using properly the medical device. So they're all, again, among many more reasons why a medical device, may not work well or may not be used well, or it doesn't have a good quality. Hence, we will receive adverse events. So the working group for adverse events terminology are going to harmonize the terms that we use in order to report those adverse events related to the use of medical devices. And of course, they also look into the signal detection, activities, so that companies, they can always look into the safety profile of their device in order to protect the well-being of the society and of course of the patients. We also have another working group which is called Good Regulatory Review Practice. So what they do is that they develop good review practices for pre-market reviews and evaluations. As you know, for medical devices, we have, like drugs as well, we have the pre-market reviews as well, and we then register the medical device. Here, this committee or this group is working on developing SOPs, procedures, best practices in order to review those, I would say, a dossier or registration application. Now, we also have other groups, such as Medical Device Cybersecurity Guide. They manage the cybersecurity risk in medical devices through a life cycle approach. So what is that exactly? This means that we need to make sure that when we are using, for example, any software, the information of the patient is going to be protected. This is why we talk about cybersecurity risks, and we are looking into going over those risks in a life, in a life cycle approach. So they strike the right balance between the pre-market and post-market requirements. We also have another working group in the International Medical Device Regulators Forum, which is personalized medical devices. These are devices that are made personally for specific needs for specific patients. So here, what they do is that they harmonize the regulatory requirements for medical devices that are intended for a particular individual, considering unique characteristics and risks associated with each type of the device. We also have another working group, which is called Regulated Product Submission. What they do is to harmonize the format and content of regulatory submission. So don't forget that when we talk about harmonization, we are looking into a way that all of the participating countries are going to work on the same standards. This is harmonization in between countries. And here, this working group has the I would say the responsibility to look into harmonizing the format and content of the submissions for the registration of medical devices. We also have another group, which is software as a medical device, and they promote consistently in regulatory assessment for software as a medical device to reach patients more efficiently. So if you would like to go to the website for the International Medical Device Regulators Forum, you can always go to https www.imdrf.org. And of course, you can always explore, again, the information in that website. The International Coalition of Medicines Regulatory Authorities is another effort for the harmonization of the regulatory, I would say, pathways. So, the International Coalition of Medicines Regulatory Authorities is an informal group of leaders of medicines regulatory authorities that provides strategic directions for enhanced collaboration, improved communication, and approaches to jointly address common challenges. So their mission is to safeguard public health by facilitating strategic leadership and greater cooperation of international medicines authority on shared regulatory issues and challenges. So as we see, this is another harmonization effort in between countries. So this organization promotes international cooperation among medicines regulatory authorities to strengthen global dialogue, facilitate wider exchange of reliable and comparable information, and encouraging greater leveraging of resources and work between authorities, and advocate for better informed risk-based allocation of authorities. So in more simple words, harmonizing the efforts for regulatory submission pathways. But again, this is an informal group of leaders. Now, this group also addresses current and emerging human medicines regulatory and safety challenges. So, their efforts aim to strengthen the quality, safety, and efficacy of medicinal products globally. Now, there are currently several projects on antimicrobial resistance, communications, drug shortages, innovation, pharmacovigilance, regulatory convergence, and alignment in the global COVID-19 regulatory responses, and the supply chain integrity. Now, who are the members? Members are several countries. So we have, again, people who are knowledgeable in this field, and they are from different members. So we have Australia, which is the Therapeutic Good Administration. We have Canada, which is Health Products and Food Branch, Directorate, which is the HPFP, Health Canada. We have National Health Surveillance Agency of Brazil. And we have, of course, China, European Union, France, Germany, India, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Mexico, the Netherlands, New Zealand. And of course, this list continues with Nigeria, Singapore, South Africa, Sweden, Switzerland, UK, and FDA. They also have associate members from, of course, Argentina, Australia. These are all regulatory authorities of these countries, and it goes down to Iceland. And of course, we can continue with other countries. And they also have the observers, I would say, which are all coming from the World Health Organization. Now, what are their main projects now? Well, as we already mentioned, one of them is the antimicrobial resistance, which is in support of World Antimicrobial Awareness Week in 2022, that they developed a set of info cards to raise awareness of the growing public health threat of antimicrobial resistance and to highlight successful regulatory and non-regulatory interventions in their respective countries. So that was for informing the populations in different countries to be more sensitive and to get to know more about the antimicrobial resistance in the year 2022. Another project that they have is the crisis management. So they work on a framework that they developed for the involvement of regulatory authorities in the management of global health crisis, which was published as the ICMRA Standard Operating Procedure for Crisis Management. So they wrote a standard operating procedure for managing crisis. Now, talking about two other main projects of the International Coalition of Medicines Regulatory Authorities, we can also cite the project on Informal Innovation Network. So they published a report that sets out recommendations to help regulators to address the challenges that the use of artificial intelligence poses for global medicines regulation. And the other project that they have is the pharmaceutical quality knowledge management system, because again, their executive committee formally established a PQKMS or Pharmaceutical Quality Knowledge Management System working group with specific responsibilities for advancing efforts needed to develop this type of knowledge management system. So, in a nutshell, today we looked into again the global regulatory harmonizations, and we looked at the International Medical Device Regulators Forum and the International Coalition of Medicines Regulatory Authority. Thank you so much again for your attendance. And of course, now I'm going to again close this presentation and respond to your questions.